Welcome to Lead with Hope with Brandy Kelly, the podcast where we explore the power of hope, leadership, and resilience in today's world. Each week, we'll bring you stories, insights, and actionable advice from leaders, innovators, and change makers. So let's dive in and discover how you can lead with hope.
Good morning and welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast. Today, I'm super excited to have Lori Hopkins on the pod with me. And Lori, we're just going to dive right in this morning. And what I want you to do to start this show is tell the listeners about your story. Why did you become an educator?
All right. And I thank you, Dr. Brandy Kelly, for having me. And I love this podcast. So thank you for doing this. So why an educator? Honestly, it goes way back to meeting my husband, because I really wanted to follow my dad's footsteps and be a law enforcement officer. He was a state trooper for many years, and then he became a chief of police. So I wanted that. And I wanted to bring peace and hope and safety and security to the world. But then I was in the United States Marine Corps as a military police officer, and I'll never forget the first time I had to put cuffs on kids. And it just didn't feel right at all. I didn't enjoy it, and I knew that perhaps I could make a difference in kiddos' lives in a different way other than being very reactionary to their behavior. So it just so happens I met a young man, actually an old man, I should say, because by the time I got started in education, it was a little late. I believe I was 30 maybe, but I met my husband. He was a football coach for many years as a volunteer, and he was pursuing education. And I liked him, and I liked the message that he always shared with me about how he was influenced by kids, and kids, I think, were definitely influenced by him. So I started looking at that myself. And we were in college together, and we are two competitors. So we were going to compete to see who finished first. And I think the greatest desire, of course, was to make an impact with kids, but it was trying to find that pathway for me that really fit my personality. So I started out pursuing an English secondary education degree and license. And then I had my first speech comm class. And let me tell you, the professors in speech communication were so fun and excited and invigorating that I just said, speech comm, that's for me. And so I ended up really double majoring in speech communication and English at the secondary level.
Oh, wow. That's neat. Communication is such a powerful tool, especially, and I know later you went into educational administration, you became a principal and then a superintendent, and now you work as a consultant across the state. How far do you go, Lori, with your consulting services?
Well, I'm busy enough really locally, but after I left the superintendency, I joined a company called Advance Ed, which was the largest and oldest accreditor in the world, as a matter of fact. And that particular role as director took me all over the United States, from Florida, Alabama, Arizona. So I had a number of different opportunities with that organization. And I, like every role that I've ever played, I'm so grateful because I've met some amazing people. But I do have to share, if I may, Brandy, a story. I'll never forget traveling to Alabama, Birmingham, for a teacher education conference for continuous improvement. And I was presenting, and there were probably, anywhere between 600 and 700 teachers in attendance at this conference. So it was it was a big deal. And I remember standing at the door and greeting, educators as they came in, and they were so excited to be there. And let me tell you, and I say that a lot because I was so surprised by their professional dress. Like, they were dressed beyond success. I still am surprised by it because they look like they were all going to weddings. Not just Sunday mass, but something even, I don't know, more extravagant. I don't know if that's even appropriate to say with church being, very important. But I said to them, several of them, I said, you look amazing. So tell me, is there an occasion, or what's the deal? And no, it can't. We dress like we're professional educators. And when we dress up, we feel good. And when we feel good, we're great for kids. And when we're great for kids, kids are, doing well in school. So it just went round circle. And it struck me. I've always believed in professional dress, but they actually showed me why it was important. So it was that was one of the neatest experiences during my travels.
That is so cool. And it's true. I mean, it's important to dress for success. It's important to feel good in not only the clothes you wear, but the skin that you wear, right? That brings up an interesting debate, though, in schools, because you have those teachers that are of the school of thought that I need to wear blue jeans and be comfortable, and that's how I can best meet the needs of my kids. And then you have that mindset of dressing for success. So where do you fall on that continuum?
Oh, without a doubt, I'm all about dress for success. If you look good, you're going to feel good. And if you feel good, you're going to present yourself in the very best manner for kids. But I think the proof's in the pudding, because I've gone to many schools, but again, I'm going to go to my Cognia days where I traveled the United States, and I served on an inner city review, Louisville, Kentucky, and it was a middle school. And I remember walking in, and just girls, little middle school girls coming up to me. I like your outfit. I like your shoes. I like your hair. I like, and of course, then I felt really great about myself. I mean, these little ones are saying such nice things, but it just showed me that the engagement was there, and to build relationships after that, easy. Yeah. So yes, very much a proponent of that.
Yeah. And it's important too, for those young ladies to see a woman coming in successful, providing guidance, providing a pathway for the educators that serve her every day. I mean, the saying, if you can see her, you can be her. Cool. And our kids need to see that.
Absolutely. And I always said to the entire staff, first day, as superintendent, 360 staff members, and I said, I want you to all understand that I am calling you educators, every single one of you. I don't care what role you play in the school, whether you're the cook, the administrative assistant, the custodian, or an educator, or a speech pathologist, doesn't matter. You are modeling for kids every day in every way. So we are all educators. We are all educating them. They are watching us.
Every day, every moment of every day. And you talk about the power of relationships, and I'm sure you have so many stories that we could unwrap and enjoy today, but it's so true. But from, that relationship with your husband inspiring you to the relationship that you had with your staff and your students in your various schools, relationships is where it all starts. And that's what really makes the difference.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Now, my construct here is Lead with Hope, obviously, because that is that we are on the Lead with Hope podcast, right? And I believe that we all need hope in this life, but hope without action is just wishful thinking. So what actions or habits do you engage in consistently to reach your full potential?
So when we first began this podcast, you said, tell me your story. And I think my story is extremely important in order to answer this question. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back a few years and I'm going to make it quick, but in a time frame of 6 years, I had 3 separate tragedies. The first in 1991, the death of my son. And he had 4 open heart surgeries at different children's hospitals. I was humbled greatly. And to be very honest, again, there were times I felt sorry for myself. I'm supposed to be going out with this new little baby and sharing him with the world, my husband and I. And I can't because I am stuck in a hospital, and hospitals are cold, they're sterile, and they're lonely. And I had so many learning lessons during that particular journey. And so after his 4th open heart surgery, he did not make it, and it was at St. Louis Children's in St. Louis. Again, I learned a lot, and I'll talk about that in a minute regarding hope. Mm-hmm. My significant other, 2 years later, and someone with whom I was living committed suicide. And that was very difficult. And to be very honest, again, I say that all the time, I'm being honest throughout this whole podcast, but I just recently started talking about it. Mm-hmm. I spoke about my son a lot, but to talk about Steve has been very difficult because, of course, with suicide comes guilt. And so it has been a journey to try and really navigate that particular path. 2 years following my brother, both biological and brother of music, because we were recording a CD and we were having all kinds of fun with music together. And he was diagnosed with leukemia in March and passed in September. So these 3 unfortunate and tragic happenings changed my world. They made me, number one, realize that life is short. You do not know what's going to happen in an instant. And you understand this too, Brandy. You just don't know. So therefore, every day that I live matters. It matters how I act, how I interact, how I conduct myself, and how I lead with hope and love. And so as an educator, as a school leader, and as a district leader, it's always important to love. Mm-hmm. How do you lead with hope? You live and lead and show and model every single day that people matter, that they can do whatever it is that they are striving to do with the right people supporting them. And my husband and I talk about this a lot. Really encompass yourself with individuals who are going to make you better, not tell you what you want to hear. Right. That means 2 things. It means love on them, but also hold them accountable, because that's how we all get better. So I think leading with hope is really about modeling the behavior that you really want to see in others. And it starts with the adults who serve kids, and then it impacts the kids they serve.
Yeah. Oh, that was so beautifully said. Leading with hope means leading with love. And, we talk about kids, some of the kids that come to our classrooms or our schools that act out, they need love the most. And what I'm learning as a superintendent is adults are the same way. If you take time to learn their story, some of the adults that are the most difficult to connect with, to build relationships with, they need you to keep persevering the most, because you don't know by looking at somebody what they've gone through. I mean, thank you for sharing your story about your son and those that you have lost in your life, because it helps us to understand who you are and what makes you tick, and why you get up every day, and your purpose and your passion for helping others. And you can see it in the social media posts that you create, Lori. You just want to spread love. You want to spread hope. You want to spread positivity. And there's nothing better.
Thank you. And back at you, young lady. But yes, I do. And I think if we all do that and we work together to do that, we can change the world.
Absolutely. One day at a time. Now, that just screams optimistic outlook, which you have in spades. So when you think about your mindset, how do you think over the years your optimism, your positivity has affected those that you have led?
Well, I certainly hope that it has positively and powerfully affected all I have served. I will say that leadership's tough. It is tough. And I think the toughest lesson always is we are not going to make everyone happy. That's just the way it is. And I think if we are serving, others with integrity, with kindness, and I'm going to go back to accountability. I mentor leaders and teachers today. And if I leave them with anything, it starts with accountability. The only way that we are going to get better is if we are absolutely honest with those we serve and those who serve me. I want them to be honest with me. What can I do to improve? What am I doing in, this particular role that doesn't meet the expectations that you've laid out? I want to know the answers to that. So I think, again, it's all encompassing of a number of personal and professional attributes that, we get from the role models we've had in our lives and especially our family. So so it's all of that.
Yeah, it is. And I've only known you personally for a short period of time. I've followed you on social media for a while, but you certainly epitomize an optimistic outlook. And I am blessed to call you a friend.
I could not communicate that more directly to you as well, Brandy. You're the same way. And first of all, thank you for that. That means a lot. It means a lot coming from you. And I feel the same about you.
Well, thank you, Lori. Now, you've talked about some of your experiences, which I think, by the way, are fascinating. The fact that you were a Marine and then an educator, and you've kind of come up the ranks, and now you're a consultant. But is there any one thing that you would say is your overall purpose in life and a passion that you're really striving towards right now?
So interestingly enough, I just recently had a conversation with an individual, a educator and former school leader, and that was really the topic of conversation. I'm really sometimes all over the place. So I'm just going to admit that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all over the place sometimes. My goal is always to control thoughts. The good old Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Whatever you're thinking, hopefully good, you say it. And going back to, optimism, optimism is a choice. So I'm going to answer both of those together because I really didn't finish my thought. I live the law of attraction. I learned about this a few years ago by reading The Secret, and I was just absolutely blown away by that book. And then I started paying attention. The Secret, the law of attraction. We are all on a frequency. And if our frequency is high, we are going to attract those who are on our frequency. So there you go, Brandy. That's why we were attracted to one another. And this is something I don't want to push everything on the coffee table of schools and school leaders and school teachers. But, the law of attraction, similar to that of the law of gravity, because it's something we cannot see, but yet if we really know it exists, then maybe we should be talking about it. And if like, for example, what you think about, you bring about. How many times have we said, maybe on a Monday, if we smashed our toe and the rest of the day was going to go bad because we're like, all right, this day started out bad. So because you said it, you're living it, you're embracing it. And so that's going to be so. But if you start the day off on a Monday going, today's going to rock, I cannot wait for it, and you really believe it in your mind, it will. So today I'm like, I get to meet with Brandy on a podcast. I am excited. Guess what? I'm still excited, and I will be excited throughout the day. So optimism is a choice, but if we begin our day like that, then everything will be right and good. And we got to really believe it. So then, I go back to, your second question and how I might impact the world, or what my purpose is or my passion is. And in having this conversation with this person, I said, every day that I live, I hope at some point to impact in some way. And how can I make that happen? Well, Brandy, I'm working with teachers. My husband and I are working with teachers in Gillespie. We love that. It's just been a dynamo experience, and the teachers are fantastic. We're very grateful for that opportunity. I actually work with the principals at Northwestern. I really enjoy that. I work with the Brussels principal and a couple of teachers. I really enjoy that. One thing that I miss is the water cooler. When you are a consultant, you work at home, you do what you need to do in order to provide, the experience and resources to those you serve, but then you will go out to their schools and you come back and you do it again. I miss the water cooler moments, and I also miss the direct service to students and teachers. So every once in a while, I find myself going, and I miss really being part of the continuous improvement process for a school or a district, because I love that. And I realize it works if you actually practice that with fidelity. So I think all of those are still in my mind, and I'm still kind of thinking about what I could do to impact a little bit better, a little bit more, so that it hits my heart and maybe I can serve more of others.
Yes. So as you're thinking about that, the goal is excellence, and it depends on how you define excellence. But you talked about that school improvement cycle, and excellence is progress over perfection in my mind. So how do you define excellence, and how do you use that idea of excellence to spur people on towards their greatest potential?
I really love that question, because I don't know that we really sit around and think about that question enough. Like, what does excellence mean? And you're right, it could mean something different to everyone. So excellence, I'm going to go back to a story, if I may. I always like to use those to kind of push home the point. When I started back in public education, I actually left a teacher prep program as the director of teacher education and clinical placements and a tech professor to really put theory into practice. And I was hired at Jersey Community High School as the assistant principal. And the goal was to increase test scores. That's really what they wanted. And the first evaluation of, school experience, everything that's all inclusive of what makes a school excellent, occurred when we really looked at teacher feedback. And what we learned is that if there was a toxic culture, and when we think of toxic culture, we think no one gets along and everybody's not very kind and not very, very willing to help kids. But that's not true. That wasn't what defined Jersey Community High School. It wasn't toxic in terms of maybe how we perceive that word.
Mm-hmm.
It was in terms of being isolated, doing things on, one's own, not really having this camaraderie or collaboration with instruction, with curriculum building and alignment and all of that. And having a vision everyone could believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So the school improvement team, so a group of leaders actually led the entire school staff, everyone, in building that vision together, which I think was the most impactful work that a school can do. And once they developed it, which was Jersey Community High School, just commit to higher success, that went everywhere. And everything that we did actually pointed to that. Just commit to higher success. And we created value statements. And then we moved on when I moved to and by the way, in 3 years, we started with culture. That was actually, wait, back up. We started with climate, and I want to differentiate culture and climate. Climate can be changed quickly. Culture takes years. So we started with the climate, and pretty soon everybody was working together. People loved being in the school. We had compliments from substitute teachers saying, this is my favorite place to sub. That's when you know it's working. And in 3 years, we were designated a star school by the State Board of Education. Our scores increased by a significant percentage, I think 20 points actually. So we were making great progress. So what is excellence? Excellence is when you can see and feel it in the climate that improvement's happening, and you are continually striving for growth, and the growth actually happens because you see it in all of the data you collect, from test scores to staff feedback to family and community feedback. So that's how you know that excellence is happening, is occurring in your school system.
I love that story. And, climate and culture is something that I get super passionate about, because with the Lead with Hope brand, I'm, talking about growing leaders and building culture. And like you said, the climate is how it feels. The culture is how we do things around here. And you can change climate pretty quickly, but culture, as you said, takes years. But when you start feeling that, tide change, and people are sharing in leadership, people are holding each other accountable. It's one thing for the principal or the superintendent to hold somebody accountable, but when staff members are holding each other accountable based on the values and the vision of the organization, that is powerful. And like you said, that is excellent. And that really does make a difference with student learning.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. So as we wrap up this podcast, I wish we had so much more time, because you are such a joy to talk to, and I love having our conversations. But as we wrap up, do you want to share a project that you're super excited about right now, or just anything that you want to share as a closing thought with our listeners?
I would love to share a project that I am really excited about. And even you, Brandy, you don't know this. No. Because I just started working with my daughter. My daughter has her, I'm going to bragging mama moment. She has her MBA in marketing. And so she was sharing with me, why don't you do this? I'm like, I'm pretty creative, but I didn't even think about it. So I have 5 children's books, and here they are. I Want to Be Just Me, The Power of Positive Music, I like, The Test, and, what is Veterans Day anyway? Anyway, what I always wanted to do is take one of those books and create a family engagement night that was centered around it. Yeah. And because the books, there are a lot of adult life lessons to be learned. But what I discovered is I could take all 5 of those books and I can create a theme. For example, I Want to Be Just Me is all about authenticity. Mm-hmm. And what is Veterans Day anyway is about, patriotism and all of the military branches. And I think kids sometimes don't know what all the professions are out there that they could pursue. So authenticity and professions, different professions. That would be my one book. Veterans Day, all of the different branches of the military. The test, all of the dispositional attributes that make a good citizen. And then I could go on through my 5 books. But what I'm working on right now is creating a family engagement night package that includes the books, all of the resources, the activities, everything that would make a night of fun and learning, all based around the Be Just Me series books.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. When you get that package together, promise me you'll send that to me, because we do family engagement nights at our school district, and I would love to bring you to our school district.
I need a pilot school, Brandy, so you're it.
Sign me up.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So now for the listeners, how would they connect with you if maybe they're a principal or a superintendent and they want to talk to you about your services and maybe they want to bring you to their school? How do they get in touch with you?
Right. First of all, thank you. Lori at bejustme.com is my email. So Lori at bejustme.com. And you can also, I'll provide my card, my business cards to you, Brandy. I don't know that I want to put my cell number out here, but I would. I mean, you can find it. You put Lori Franke Hopkins out there, you're going to find my cell number. So you could also call me too.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, and I appreciate that you are spreading light and love and hope to our world. So keep leading with hope, Lori, and thanks for coming on today.
And thank you. And Brandy, thank you for creating the Hope and the Hope podcast and leading districts serving others powerfully and positively. I appreciate you greatly.
Well, thank you. And if you want to hear more from educators who are leading with hope, subscribe to my podcast and have a great day.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.